A long time ago, in a galaxy not far away, Jon Favreau was more known for being another, oh, that guy that appeared in many popular films. Well, that status was ultimately very short-lived, as Favreau quickly established himself as a master of not only acting, but producing, directing, writing, voiceovers, the virtual gamut of the TV film industry. Getting a taste of the Star Wars culture through voiceovers in the Clone Wars animated series that ran from 2010 to 2013, and being greatly responsible for the successful launch of the massive Marvel Cinematic Universe, it was only a matter of time before old Happy Hogan himself was given the reins and access to further grow the Star Wars universe with the incredible space western series, The Mandalorian. Though the title indicates the story of one, we quickly see that many Mandalorians still remain, including the indomitable Paz Vizsla. It, of course, only seems fitting that Favreau be the one to bring a voice to such a character, also honoring the legacy he voiced in the Clone Wars pre-Vizsla. Did I mention he can also be attributed to a rise in the popularity of the Cubano sandwich thanks to his production of the film Chef? If you haven't seen it, check it out, but be prepared to be hungry. Back to the topic. In a great way to honor the impact Favreau has had on the Star Wars culture, Hasbro gave us a clever opportunity to pay homage to the multi-talented individual and get ourselves a pretty rad figure. Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan, aka JK of JK Collects. I'll be posting a new video at least once a week, if not more. If that sounds of interest to you, please click that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. In this episode, we are taking a closer look at the Hasbro 6-inch scale Star Wars Black Series Jon Favreau Paz Vizsla. Welcome back, everyone, and here we have it. The Star Wars Black Series from the Mandalorian series, the Jon Favreau / Paz Vizsla. Looking at the back, as we normally start with, look at a pretty plain back, right? Because it's this is actually a little bit of a sleeve, which you'll see here in just a minute, because we're dealing with that minimal plastic packaging. But there we go, right? Oh yeah, good old Disney and Hasbro. Thank you for everything that you're out there doing. Looks like we got a little bit of stuff on the back there, but very blank back, very plain. We got a little bit of artwork here on the side, just kind of a glossy type embossing that just kind of shows that bleeding over to the side for this amazing front. There on the side, we've got old Jon Favreau with his helmet off as the Mandalorian Paz Vizsla. Obviously, he would not be walking around with his head off. He's very loyal to the way, if you will. But of course, he's not the one that's actually in the costume, right? He's the one that provides the voice, but he is not the actual actor that roams around in the costume. A little bit of fact right there. I'm sure everybody already knew that. But that's a typical thing in this Mandalorian series. So there we go. What a beautiful cover, right? There's just something about that helmet. No matter whose helmet it is, which character, it's just timeless and beautiful. So there we go. All right. Love the color palette, keeping that same orange of the Mandalorian. But here's something fun that I really like about the presentation of this, right? The low plastic or plastic free. If we slide this one out, boom, there he is right there. Right? Nothing to the imagination. He is just there and ready to go. We got something that's kind of keeping it retained in there. I don't know if there's like maybe a little paper flap or something that's holding it. Doesn't quite want to pull out too easily. I'm afraid to pull too hard. So what I'm going to do is we're going to try cutting from here. Let's see if we can investigate what is holding it in, and maybe this will help with yours, so you can kind of know, if you do get one, what it looks like in there. I'll just devastate mine in the hopes that we won't have to devastate too many of them, because it's not too keen to come apart here. Let's pull on it just a little bit. I'm trying my best not to absolutely destroy it. Oh, there's the tear. Yep, I heard the collective groan out there. I'm sure you all felt it. So there we go. That might be what's holding us back. That little piece of paper right there. Typical thing that kind of holds things back. We saw that in the Ahsoka Grogu 3-pack, right? Holding Mando and Ahsoka in there. So we've got that free. So now we know how that works. We'll slide him the rest of the way out. And I'm just going to put this over to the side as usual, because we're done looking at that one. We got this nice little flap. I'm going to pull that out just so it's not dangling there and being a distraction. So there we go. Yet another presentation. Also nice. We've shifted to a white color palette. Still have that burnt orange in the background. And there on the back, we've got just a bigger version of that side artwork and a little bit about celebrating Jon Favreau, as we mentioned earlier, right? And everything that he's provided for the Star Wars universe and culture, and being that Paz Vizsla. So there we go. All right. Now let's get into the actual box and start looking at this character. What a great presentation, right? We may not have plastic. We may be able to just touch this guy, but I think it's kind of cool, right? I think it's fun. It's making them be a little bit more creative with how this stuff is presented. All right, so that nice little slide out sleeve that we had going on there, that was neat. Some of the other ones, you know, just coming in these boxes, having different ways of having to present them. Boy, look at all these ties back here. But hey, none of them are plastic. They are all this kind of paper material, but you know, they are in the way of me getting into this figure. So let's cheat, because I don't want to waste too much of your time watching me undo paper ties. Who wants to do that, right? Who signs on to YouTube to say, hey, I'd like to spend 5 minutes watching somebody untie paper ties? All right, let's get in this. Maybe we'll be able to just kind of fast forward this bit a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so be prepared if you want to break into yours, that this is the daunting task that you face. So just so that you are aware. I'm going to take a gamble and say I don't need to cut that one. Okay. Now that we've done all that, let's remove old Jon / Paz himself. Let's see if we can get this helmet. There we go. And get this massive weapon of his that's attached to this backpack that is still attached to this packaging. Oh, the one that I missed. Of course. Hey, thanks for sticking with me through this lovely unboxing. It's the same experience that you get to enjoy on your own when you are home with your Jon Favreau Paz Vizsla. Let's move that cardboard out of the way and let's clear all this chaos. First, we'll get that. I thought that was yet another piece of the paper. I'm already scarred by this. Let me see if I can just slide it over the top. Right? Yeah, there we go. All right, don't want to waste too much time on that. Okay, so first and foremost, we'll slide old Paz over there and just kind of look at the accessories a little bit. So first and foremost, helmet, right? I've got to just dive right into it because those helmets are just fantastic. This one looks like it might be big enough just to slip over his head. And I know sometimes it makes it look like it's absolutely huge and disproportionate, but to me, there's some kind of extra value in being able to pop that helmet on there, right? There's just something fun about it. That bit of realism, you know, that's that thing that that I always wanted as a kid with a lot of action figures, was the ability to pop the helmet on there. But you know, enough about that. Just look at the detail on this thing, right? So we've got some silver apps on there just to kind of show some of the wear. Interesting that you have to add a color to make it look like a color is rubbed off. So the blue base paint on there, looking great. We've got some dents that don't really have the metal showing through. Granted, they are round on the back, so it could have just been a skip to save a little bit of time and money, because we've got some dents here and we've got the metal showing through, and again, a little bit of wear on that, right? Because these guys have been through a lot. When we join them in the series, we see that they are hiding underground, have to be kind of almost ashamed of who they are, and they've definitely seen some battles. They don't really have a lot of high funding to keep things in perfect condition, and you know what? They're just proud of their armor. They can't take it off and fix it anyway, at least not the helmet, not where anybody can see. But there we go. Great apps on this. I'm assuming it's a massive rangefinder maybe here on the side, and then over there, everything's looking pretty clean, right? So, you know, yeah, not really many apps on the back. Of course, they followed this stripe because it started on the front. A little bit rubbed off on there. I don't know if that's intentional. I'm going to assume that it's not, but you can see some of the blue shining through on that. You know, everything can't be perfect, but we do also have some silver on here to indicate some wear. So it's possible that, you know, it's a helmet, it's painted, and some of that black paint has come off, much like black paint has come off right there. So there we go. Good looking helmet. I look forward to testing to see if it will go on his head. But look at this weapon. Look at this gun. I mean, you've got the backpack, you've got the rockets on there, but you also have the ability of tapping into that power to power this massive two-handed cannon. I mean, this guy it's a fantastic weapon. I mean, and I do like some of the app on it, right? So it kind of fades into a. We got to. Let's see if we can fade into some focus here, maybe. But the gun, it kind of fades into a silver ish color on there. The camera never wants to work with me on this. But there we go. You know, it kind of fades into that silverish and then into the blue. Not much here throughout the rest of the weapon to show like that wear that we see on the helmet, or like most weapons would have. It's still just that same gray plastic that it was cast in. Same thing here with this this line running to it. It's like kind of like a snake coil. It is plastic. There's no, it seems like there's no wire in there to kind of hold the shape, which would be kind of nice, you know, just for general control, and so that when you have it in hand, it's not trying to pull away like some of these things will, because they're stuck in there. They want to go back to their shape. And some wear and tear would have been kind of cool on that. But looking at the pack itself, also very clean, right? And yeah, you would, it's nice when something is clean and looks great and the paint looks very clear and well put on there. But when you have a character who is probably gone through a lot of battles and has some wear and tear, you would kind of expect to see some on the pack as well, right? Because it's in there with him. It's on his back at all times. So you would think it would take some hits. And then this line coming off of it is just that perfect silver plastic. So honest opinion, I think they kind of missed the mark of the ability of doing a little bit of wear and tear, or maybe some like just dry brush, some detail on this pack. Not mad about it. It's still a pretty darn cool weapon. But, you know, it would have been cool to see a little bit more detail, especially when we're honoring someone like Jon Favreau, and also putting such a great character out there, right? The indomitable Paz Vizsla. So let's look at, speaking of the character and the legendary icon of TV film himself. So there's old Jon right there, right? Now look at that. I mean, the likeness, I'm going to say that photorealism, it did the trick right there, right? There would be no mistaking if you asked me, who is this? And I would say, that looks a whole lot like Jon Favreau, right? The hair looks pretty good. It's that just standard black all the way through, not really any kind of wash in there to kind of give a little bit more detail, which sometimes we see. Don't really see it there, but it looks like there is a little bit in the beard, right? So we've got like a base of a lighter brown and then a little bit of a darker brown to give it some detail. So with the beard like that and the hair like that, it almost looks like old Paz Vizsla is keeping the Just for Men rocking, right? Because it's not really matching. But you know what? I'm not here to judge. Whatever works for you. He looks great is the story. So let's see how this wonderful head works around. Look at that. Yeah, we got it separate from the neck, so probably on a little ball joint up there. Good rotation, good movement of the neck along with it. So it definitely has a lot of flexibility and posability. And check it out. Boom, we've got full exorcist going on there. So it does make that full lap around. So he can watch his back, he can watch his front, he can look down, he can look up, he can look woefully to the sky. There we go. Okay, so yeah, great mobility on the head. Now let's check out these big arms with these big, oh yeah, that's what I like to see, right? That shoulder pad that is that kind of flexible rubbery material, right? And obviously it holds that flex a little bit after you bring the arm back down, but when you bring it up, it flexes up over the trap area there, right? The shoulder panel just kind of goes up over there and gets out of the way, so it doesn't get pinched and doesn't prevent the arm from going up pretty high, right? And both of them should be able to do that about that same ability, right? And this one takes a little bit more effort, but yep, they get there. He looks absolutely thrilled to have this happening, right? But yeah, I think it's great that they do that. Butterfly joint in there, good flexibility all the way around. Elbow, I don't see any pins. Look at that. It is a single elbow, but hey, I'm happy to not see some pins on there. We got a swivel on the elbow, and we also have obviously the joint. We've got a rotation on the wrist, and we do have the ability for it to kind of flex inward and outward, but this big wrist cannon, oddly enough, is getting in the way, kind of preventing some of that flexibility that would be there for this wrist. So it's a good idea, good effort, but you know, with this massive thing on here, which is attached, it does not, I mean, it may come off, but it's probably going to be the whole arm, right? Because we got the swivel at the elbow, but then it also does a forearm swivel, but I'm pretty sure that's part of the arm is taking the hand with it. So attached on there, gets in the way of that hand. Over here, similar, we've got the elbow swivel, right? And then the forearm kind of got a little bit of a swivel to it with this cuff around it. Looks like it is part of the arm. We've got the hand, good rotation, and this one has the little bit of flexibility up and down, but yet again, these arm pieces are kind of getting in the way. I guess that's the good thing about him being a heavy gunner, is he doesn't really have to be too flexible because he's carrying massive weapons. But he's got one on his wrist. I mean, come on. We've got right here, up there at the chest, right? A little bit of torso. No real waist movement. We've got this belt. It's on here, but it is separate, right? So it is kind of floating on there, but not in a bad way, right? It kind of wants to stay in place. It took me a little bit to figure out for sure whether it was or was not floating. Legs, looks like pretty good. It doesn't really have that same pull down thing. It has a slight bit. If you notice, it just pops right back up. But flexibility, not terrible, but not amazing. I mean, not the worst, right? He can almost get the Mandalorian split or the Chun-Li kick in the air, right? Remember, that's one of my favorite ones. All right, but we've got, looks like we've got a line right here, maybe for some thigh swivel, but it doesn't necessarily want to cooperate. It may just be a line. I don't want to force it too much, but there's a little bit. Yeah, we got a little bit of movement there, so that's good to see. Knee, we got a double knee, but looks like we got pins showing on that one. I'm not going to fault him for it because it does give him some pretty darn good flexibility, right? That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And then no real calf swivel, but the foot does move up and down. We've got a little bit of side to side on it, so it does rock some, but we've got that forward and backward. So, I mean, all in all, fair on posability, I would give it, but what do you expect from a massive beast like Paz Vizsla, right? Now, let's take a look at the paint apps and stuff like that, right? So on the back, you know, of course, the typical, not a whole lot going on back there unless they absolutely had to, like it wraps around to the front. Just the blue plastic, no touches on the wear and tear back here, but hey, a little bit of silver on there, you know, you've got it. You got a little bit of detail. We've got a symbol here. We've got the scuffs with the silver on the front because we're on the front. All of this, you know, it's kind of tough to say, hey, this silver looks bad or it's not very well placed because it's wear and tear, right? And these parts where it's just generally worn down from contact, I think it's in appropriate places, right? It's on these edges, and it doesn't really seem like they missed the edges. They kind of got it pretty well. And then we've got a little bit up here, which would be, you know, where this top part is potentially rubbing on that, right? So it makes sense. They made some of the wear and tear make absolute sense. And just random spots on it throughout the paint. I like the belt, looking good, right? So we got silver all the way down to the buttons, this clasp right here. The pouches are different colors. Under here, you can kind of see that was a light brown to start with, but they put a little bit of a dark brown on it. Kind of seems like they missed a spot, right? So the whole thing looks like it was molded in this light brown, and then we have some dark brown put on there. A little bit of light brown showing through there, a little bit right there, but you see on the bottom of that one, no light brown, all the dark brown. So a little bit of miss on that, but you know what? They're producing a lot of these. All in all, when you have to look that close to find an issue, I would say solid job. I like the asymmetry, but the balance that this creates, right? We've got that mustard colored shin guard to match this mustard colored arm cannon, which also has some great wear and tear on it, looking good. But all in all, good looking figure. Let's see how easily he'll just stand up without a whole lot of effort. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Look at that. And that big hulk of a character stands up just fine. And now the last thing before we go to the 360 view, will the helmet go on? Boom, it absolutely does. And look at that. Yes, we've got our Paz Vizsla, our massive, indomitable Mandalorian, ready to carry some cannons and ready to go to battle. So there we have it, and we'll be right back with some 360 views. Well, that about does it. Thank you for checking us out and for joining on this collecting journey. Look for a new video each week, if not more. Be sure to subscribe and click that like button. It would really help us out, and it would mean a lot to me. No matter what, thanks for taking the time, and we are all in this world of collecting together. Let's look out for each other. Thanks.